Hi there, Osler. Very happy to see that you've sent more essays. Great job. Let's take a look at this set today. This is the one about online communication, so let's see what you wrote. Experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated on the effects in society of the prevalence of online communication over face-to-face communication. Whether having digital meetings, sending emails, or sharing video conferences may be beneficial or detrimental for most companies has here been debated since the inception of online communication in the late 20th century. Some believe this process is ineluctable and a consequence of the generalized use of the internet. Others are not so sure. This essay will argue that the benefits from online communication outstrip the drawbacks, using examples from the US government to demonstrate points and prove arguments. All right, this is lovely. I liked it. I used some nice vocabulary, used some really good grammar. You probably could have condensed it a little. In other words, I thought that maybe you had a couple of sentences that you could have left out. You could have maybe condensed them into just making this a shorter paragraph. Um, in other words, like this sentence and this one didn't really, wait, sorry, didn't really feel totally different. So, um, I'm always a fan of having a shorter introduction because this way you have more time to develop your body paragraphs. And this is really where it's going to make a difference in your overall score. You see, your introduction has a couple of very significant roles to play, but once you fulfill those roles, there really isn't any purpose in spending a lot of time developing and making a longer introduction. So you essentially have to rephrase the task. You have to present your opinion, and then you're done with it. That's when you just move on and you go to your body paragraphs. Now, I do see that you did, in fact, develop, you have rather long body paragraphs. So I want to check your word count really fast and then ask you how long this took you. Because remember, you should not spend, yeah, it's 445 words. So it's really rather long. And I'm curious how long this took you to write. If it took you anything over 40 minutes, then you're going to have to find a way to economize your word count and maybe write a little less. So in your email to us, do let us know how long this took you if you jotted it down, if you remember. All right, so let's look at your body paragraph. And ample evidence states that virtual communication could be considered a more cost-effective way to collaborate and to convey information between colleagues than a physical interaction. Okay, the central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, communicating online could be a more efficient way to keep in touch with coworkers located over a vast distance. Also, because it is easier to arrange a new meeting with short notice using mobile phones or, you're missing an R, portable computers, or to establish contact with their coworkers without leaving their homes. Okay. Secondly, the COVID pandemic has shown that digital communication may drop administrative expenses by reducing the necessity of leasing office space for many workspaces because of the home office. In this regard, recent empirical research by the US government demonstrated that 90% of all companies that not privileged, that's the wrong word. You need something else here, but I don't really know what you're trying to say. That something home office last year have reduced 50% of their operating expenses. Therefore, it is conclusively clear that communication by internet has been shown, not showed, has been shown as a very convenient, practical, and efficient practice for most workplaces than personal communication. Careful here because you have than, but you don't have a more anywhere. And so you needed a different word here than. You could have said, instead of, or has showed as a very convenient practice for most women. Instead of, or rather than, maybe you meant here, perhaps. Okay, so this was actually really good. I liked this. I do want to, before I tell you my kind of final thoughts, I will read it one more time. But as far as a paragraph goes, I thought you did a great job. Let's see here now. Now, careful here. It's not one the other hand, it's on the other hand. So careful with your spelling. On the other hand, although there is a case for efficiency, practicality, and even lowering costs for many businesses, careful. All you're really doing is just using the exact same words, but just in a different form. So try to avoid that. Use different expressions, different language, vary it up a little more than just this, okay? So, on the other hand, although there is a case for, let's see, you could have just said the overall efficiency of online communication for many businesses. I would have just stopped there, really. So there is a case for the overall efficiency of online communication for many businesses. The negative impact of losing physical contact caused by digital communication cannot be overstated. Good. This is largely because the abuse of online conferences may lead to a detriment in employees, S apostrophe here, because you mean many employees, interactive skills, including losing the capacity to interpret careful facial expressions or the ability to react instantly. In this regard, the issue of how losing rapport because of a detriment, you don't mean detriment, you mean a different word here. Deficient, perhaps? Because of deficient face-to-face communication may complicate work progress. Let me say that again. In this regard, the issue of how losing rapport because of deficient face-to-face communication may complicate work progress is a concern in many well-developed and developing countries. Thus, it is possible to state beyond doubt that, in recent years, the quality in human relationships and communication have diminished in society over the past few decades. Okay, I would have liked to hear as a result of this type of communication. Okay, just make it clear that this is what you're talking about. All right, fine. From the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that online communication generates benefits for companies as well as for society, which clearly could outweigh their downsides and even be more convenient than face to face interactions. So it is predicted that virtual communication will increasingly grow in importance, particularly after the COVID pandemic. Okay, so I'm just going to do a read through of this to see how you did in terms of task achievement and coherence and cohesion. Just give me a second. Okay, so I read through it again. I'm quite happy with it. If there's anything that I could kind of give you as some feedback to change, it would be the order of your body paragraphs. So basically, the reason why is what we typically do in essays is we leave the paragraph that we support closer to the end. There are a handful of reasons for this. One of them is that it links better to your conclusion. Okay. The other reason is that it gives your argument more weight. So when you do it the way you've done it here, so you had the paragraph you support and then you have the paragraph you don't support, what this paragraph essentially does is it weakens your argument. So when you put your argument last, it makes it stronger. So you put the side that you don't support here, and then here you put the paragraph that you do support, because it's kind of like, okay, yeah, well, look how open-minded I am. I can see the value of whatever. However, this is what is more important. This is what you need to keep in mind, okay? And then it remains in the mind of the reader. So that's my one suggestion for improvement. Other than that, I thought you did a nice job. Why don't we take a look now at the German school subjects? Okay, so the pie chart shows the results of a survey conducted, would have been a better word here, not realized, conducted in Germany to determine the popularity of 7 school subjects among, it doesn't say elementary, careful. It just says German school. It never says elementary, so don't make this about elementary school only, okay? From the graph, it is clear that German students considered physical education and history, careful. From the graph, it is clear that German students considered physical education and history their most preferred programs in the curriculum that year. Both added almost half of the total preferences. Careful. What does that mean? When you say both added almost half, it's as if together they made up almost 100%. And that's not what you mean. let's see. Yeah, you mean something different. I think you mean together they accounted for almost half of the total preferences in the whole population. Okay, and then after you say that, you could be a little more specific. You don't really have a lot of information here. I think it's like, what, 7 pieces of data. So this is the kind of chart where you do want to kind of stretch out your answer a little bit. So that's something I would have done. I would have said together they accounted for almost half of the total preferences in the whole population. More specifically, PE was preferred by X and history by X less, or whatever the percentage difference is. I can't remember if it's 22.4 and 22.9. Is that right? Yep. Okay, so by 0.5 less. All right. Other courses considered in the survey were physics and math. Likewise, both. Careful with the both, okay? Each reached approximately 20% of students' opinions as the most likable courses. However, it can be seen that the least popular courses that year were information technology, biology, and chemistry. Neither of those three, you can't say neither with 3 choices, okay? Neither is for 2. So none of those 3 programs surpassed 10% of students' votes, okay? And no the. Overall, the pie chart shows that likability of 7 programs among German. What? Let me see what happened here. Overall, the pie chart shows the likability, not that, the likability of 7 programs among German students. That year, history and physical education were the most popular in the curriculum, and the bottom of the preferences were IT. And in the bottom of the preferences were no. And in the bottom of preferences was IT. That's it. Done. Okay, so let's take a look at something here really quickly. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, 155 words. So even though you had a lot to say in your task 2, that wasn't quite the case here with your task 1. You were still over the word minimum, but let's see. If you had added maybe one of those sentences that I suggested, I think it would have been maybe a better choice here. But on the whole, I thought this was a great set. So good job. You're doing great. Keep it up, keep at it. And I'm looking forward to seeing your next set. Okay, good luck.